Hey, how's it going, friends? Thank you for tuning in to VR Revelations. Welcome. Please make sure you give this video a like and make sure you subscribe for future coverage. Also, if you want to support the channel, check out the links down below in the description. Anyways, it is March 7th, the year of our Lord 2023, and I have another article here concerning the situation in Bakhmut. As I've been reporting here the last couple of days, guys, Bakhmut is done for. It's finished. Again, you don't have to be a military strategist to understand that anybody that is in this pit of death here, as I call it, is pretty much done for. And again, Zelensky is being very stubborn because he made a huge deal out of Bakhmut. As I've said before, when he traveled to the United States in December and spoke before Congress, he made it clear that Bakhmut would be a turning point in the war. Now, when he made the statement, he was assuming that the Russians would not be able to conquer Bakhmut. Again, Zelensky referred to the city as a fortress. One of Zelensky's generals called it an impregnable fortress. They said that it was pretty much unconquerable. But fast forward a couple of months later, and it's been conquered. The only reason you don't see this pocket here in red is because Zelensky is refusing to give the order to pull out his troops. So essentially, he's going to let them die, or at the very least, surrender, because he went in too deep. He sent in his elite forces. He sent in thousands of soldiers, and they got slaughtered. So this was a major blunder on Zelensky's part. And now his generals are even afraid to tell him to pull out. I mean, the United States has been telling him to leave for the last couple of weeks now, and he's refused to. So at this point, he's gone too far with the situation. So he's just going to let his soldiers die. And so the Russians continue to push towards the center of the city. While at the same time, you can see they've completely moved past the city. I mean, they're almost at Chasiz Yar here, which was supposed to be the fallback for Ukrainian forces from Bakhmut. But now, if any of those soldiers in Bakhmut actually make it out of there, if Zelensky gives the order, I don't know how they're going to get out. They're going to have to literally flee to Kramatorsk and Slavyansk to get ready, because the Russian forces are going to move in at a faster pace, and they're going to conquer these cities at a faster pace than Bakhmut, because Bakhmut, according to Zelensky, was not supposed to be overcome. And so you're going to see him here essentially saying this. He held an interview with CNN here. Now, CNN is at the forefront of Western propaganda. I mean, these guys are pretty much just making up lies, and they're contradicting what Zelensky himself is saying. So they're trying to downplay the fall of Bakhmut. They're literally saying that it's not strategically important, and yet Zelensky, as you're about to hear in this interview, literally says that if Bakhmut falls, it's going to allow the Russians to move swiftly through the next couple of towns and so pave the way for them to attack Kramatorsk and Slavyansk, which is exactly what is happening. And again, it's a very strange video here. I mean, I know, a lot of people make fun of Zelensky, and there's all these rumors that he does cocaine and whatnot. That he seems like he's always drugged. But in this video, it's really weird. He looks sedated. He looks depressed while he's talking about Bakhmut here and how it can't fall, as the Russians are literally moving on to Kramatorsk and Slavyansk. So, again, this is CNN, guys. This isn't me, and this is Zelensky himself saying it, who is saying these things. And it's pretty hilarious because you see the West and the U.S. and all the mainstream news media outlets contradicting what Zelensky, the guy who is in charge of this war, is saying. So let's go ahead and take a listen here.
Search right now for 4 Americans who were assaulted and kidnapped.
Sorry about that. Here we go.
I want to start with the battle for Bakhmut. Ukraine has put up a tremendous fight and inflicted massive losses on the Russian side. But in recent days, Russian forces have made some critical gains there. Why have you decided not to withdraw from Bakhmut?
We understand what Russia wants
I'll answer that because he's in too deep.
to achieve there. Russia needs at least some victory, a small victory, even by ruining everything in Bakhmut, just killing every civilian there. They need to put their little flag on top of that to show their society. It's not a victory for them. It's more like, like to support, to mobilize their society in order to create this idea of there's such a powerful army. For us, it's totally different. This is tactical for us. We understand that after Bakhmut, they could go further. They could go to Kramatorsk, to Slavyansk. It would be an open road for the Russians after Bakhmut to other towns in Ukraine, in the Donetsk direction, in the east of Ukraine. That's why our guys are standing there.
As you know,
Let me just stop there because everything he literally just said there contradicts what the West is saying, which is that Bakhmut holds no strategic significance. But Zelensky just said that he understands that if the Russians take control of Bakhmut with its roads, it's going to allow the Russians to move easily on Kramatorsk and Slavyansk, and at the same time, it's going to allow them to take all these other smaller towns here pretty quickly. So right after Bakhmut, Zelensky is saying they're going to move quickly through these other towns and towards Kramatorsk and Slavyansk. And he's right about that. As a matter of fact, as we can see on the map, they're already moving past Bakhmut. They're ignoring the soldiers that are trapped in the city, that are holding their place in these buildings. And, these guys are going to get killed or they're going to get taken prisoner. You can see the Russian forces are in the city. And essentially, they're just clearing out the buildings. But this whole area here is pretty much a death pit. And if Zelensky is ignorant enough or foolish enough to send any forces into this pocket, into this pit, they're literally going to be going to their deaths. I mean, this is the mouth of the bear right now. It's like walking into the mouth of the bear. So, I mean, Zelensky couldn't emphasize anymore how important Bakhmut is, and yet you have CNN, as we're going to read, in the same article where they showed Zelensky saying that Bakhmut is not important at all. So, the West and Kyiv are on completely different pages, which signals complete chaos and disorganization on the part of the Western powers and Zelensky's government. So let's continue to listen to this, and then we'll read the article.
No, Mr. President, some of your own Ukrainian commanders have actually questioned holding on to Bakhmut as their forces are suffering very heavy casualties right now, amid worries that could hurt Ukraine's ability to launch a spring offensive. What do you say to those commanders?
I never heard anything like that from any of those commanders. How can I treat this? It means that someone has his own opinions, but it does look like a fake and created in Russian Federation that our troops should be retreating, and we have to think about our people first.
The U.S. has literally advised them to leave Bakhmut, so it's not Russian propaganda. It's just pretty obvious to anybody that looks at the situation there.
and no one should be surrounded, encircled. This is very important. But the military see for themselves that we have to stay strong there, despite the fact that Russia ruined the whole city, annihilated everything there. Troops were helping kids, civilians, to leave the town. Even up to today, people were leaving Bakhmut. We were helping everyone.
So there you go, guys. There you have it. Let's go ahead and read the article here. Again, you're going to see CNN trying to downplay the situation and essentially contradict Zelensky and saying that Bakhmut has really no tactical significance, which is absolute nonsense. This is what the United States is going to do up until the point that it's obvious that Russia won the war. And again, I believe the U.S. secretly knew from the beginning that this was a lost cause for Ukraine, that because Ukraine is not a world superpower, because they don't have nuclear weapons, they never stood a chance against Russia. But they're going to deny and deny, just like they did in Iraq and Afghanistan and all these other proxy wars that the U.S. has lost. And they'll do that. They'll lie to their own people, and their people will believe the lies. And then years later, it'll be obvious that they were lying the whole time, right? Just like it happened with all those other wars. But yeah, the people are brainwashed. They actually believe what the U.S. is saying, what CNN is saying, even when Zelensky comes on national television to tell people that Bakhmut is super important. But again, that's just, propaganda. So let's go ahead and read here. It says, Russian troops will have open road to capture key cities in eastern Ukraine if they seize control of Bakhmut, President Volodymyr Zelensky warned in an interview with CNN as he defended his decision to keep Ukrainian forces in the besieged city. More like as he defended his decision to allow the Ukrainian forces surrounded in Bakhmut to die. This is tactical for us, Zelensky said, insisting that Kyiv's military brass is united in prolonging its defense of the city after weeks of Russian attacks left it on the cusp of falling to Moscow's troops. We understand that after Bakhmut, they could go further. They could go to Kramatorsk. They could go to Slavyansk. I'm not going to read that because we just heard it there in the interview. So it says here, Zelensky said his motivations to keep the city are so different to Russia's objectives. Again, we just heard that in the video. Zelensky is literally trying to make it seem like this isn't a victory for Russia, that Russia is, conquering Bakhmut in order to gain more support from their people, which is true, but it's also a victory, and it's also tactically important for Russia. I mean, it doesn't matter how Zelensky tries to paint the motives of Russia. If it's tactically important for Ukraine, then it's tactically important for the Russians also. So it goes on here. It says, though Bakhmut doesn't... So here's the propaganda, guys. Here's CNN with their absolutely dumb takes. Listen to this. Even after Zelensky clearly said, and as he's been saying since December, Bakhmut is super important, right? He said in December it would change the course of the war. Now look at what CNN says here. This feels like Joe Biden or one of his generals or somebody in his administration was literally writing this. Though Bakhmut does not hold significant strategic value itself, its road connections to Kramatorsk and Slavyansk, two densely populated industrial urban hubs to the northwest, means those cities could be next in Russia's crosshairs if they are able to take control. That's exactly why Bakhmut is strategically important. Some commanders and lower-level officers have questioned the merit of holding Bakhmut amid a rising number of casualties and a growing risk that hundreds or even thousands of Ukrainian troops could get cut off, which is exactly what's happening here. Zelensky pretty much just made it clear that he's in too deep in this. It'll be too much of an embarrassment for him to actually give the order to pull out. So he's going to allow those soldiers there to be swallowed up there by the Russian army. They're either going to get killed, bombed, or they're going to have to surrender if they want to save their lives. And then I'm sure we're going to hear all kinds of stories from these people concerning all the chaos that is actually happening on the side of the Ukrainian army. But Zelensky dismissed those concerns, saying he has never heard anything like that from his commanders. Yeah, that's because the commanders that are closest to him are too afraid to tell him that he lost Bakhmut. We have to think about our people first, and no one should be surrounded, encircled. This is very important, he said. What is he talking about? What does he think this is here? Does he think like these are American soldiers here? I mean, if this isn't surrounded, then I don't know what surrounded is. So it looks like CNN has that map there. Yeah, I'm not going to read the rest, guys. It's just more Western propaganda here. But there you have it. It looks like Zelensky is going to allow his forces to get killed and to get captured. Bakhmut is done for. There is no rescue mission, guys, that is coming. You can see here it is now a pit of death. You can see that as the Russian forces continue to advance towards the center here, as they are already in the city, they're also moving past Bakhmut. They're pretty close to Chasiz Yar, which again was supposed to be the fallback for the Ukrainian forces. But now if any of these forces still in Bakhmut manage to actually make it out, they're going to have to go past Chasiz Yar and probably all the way to Kramatorsk and Slavyansk and get ready for the next battle, because this Russian red wave is coming fast. So there you have it, guys. Just a quick update here on the situation and on what Zelensky said, as he clearly contradicts what CNN is saying and what the Western propaganda machine is saying. So yeah, I'll keep an eye out on the situation, guys. As I see more important developments here, I'll make more videos on that. So again, make sure you give the video a like and make sure you subscribe. And remember, the truth is stranger than fiction. Anyways, thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.